Yeah. Yeah. It's good stuff. Good stuff. I like it. So I'm going to ask some questions. You don't have to answer them because I'm not asking them of you. I'm asking them of the webs, all of the interconnected webs, and I'm going to get answers for you, not from you. But if you want to chime in, feel free. Just jump right in there. Let me know what you're thinking. Followers, non-followers, people who should be followers who haven't followed me yet, and it's haunting you. You're wondering, why do I feel anxious all the time? Why am I getting fat? It's because you haven't followed me. I'm trying to break 120,000 followers. You haven't followed me yet. Feel that? You smell that? That's fear. That's fear of missing out. So just follow me. Get it over with. Just do it. You'll feel better about yourself. I'll feel better about you too. Okay, let's jump in. Just in case you weren't feeling nervous enough about the world, I ask the Goog a question. What percentage of the United States electrical grid is hardened against electromagnetic pulse weapons and or solar outbursts? Less than 1% of the United States electrical grid is fully hardened against severe widespread effects of a nuclear electromagnetic pulse weapon or severe solar flares. They go on to say that the vast majority of the bulk power system remains highly vulnerable. Now, I know you're thinking, who are these idiots who said that? I hope you're joking, John. You bought silver from TikTok. Well, when you get it and it's made of aluminum, you'll go, shit, I should have called Big and Corn Fed because he actually has real silver. What'd you pay for it? That's going to be the key. $35, I'm guessing. $35, $40 for an ounce of 999 fine, even though anywhere else in the world it's going for anywhere from about 80 to about 100. But whatever. Maybe you did get it. Just 1 ounce. And breaking up really bad. They said that before, too. They said I was breaking up really bad before as well. I don't understand what is going on here. I'm going to try something real quick. I'm going to try and go live there. And then let's see if using my bitchin' Wi-Fi helps. Because if it doesn't, that's not good. How am I doing now? And by the way, that report was done by the U.S. Naval Institute. Wow. Man, every single thing I've seen on the TikTok shop was a total scam. Really, it was. Everybody, I've got a guy, one of my clients, that's sending me some of the silver he bought on the TikTok shop because he was like, "Yeah, man, they said $35," and I thought, "There's no way." And I said, "So what'd you do?" And he said, "Oh, I bought some." He's rich, he didn't care. He just wanted to see what it was really made of, and we haven't figured it out. That's why he's sending it to me. They tested it to see if there was any silver in it. 0% silver, but it's the exact same weight. Now that's interesting because a lot of people go by weight. They throw it up on something, well, 1 troy ounce. Okay, well, it's probably silver. Looks like it's the right size. Nope, no silver in it whatsoever. So I'm going to do some acid tests on it because different acids react to silver and other metals differently. You'll get brown foam or greenish foam or whatever, depending on what kind of acid it is. So I'm going to do that. But in the meantime, that doom and gloom shit I just got done telling you about, what percentage of the electrical grid and how it's super vulnerable. Well, the people who said that, just to be clear, that's the U.S. Naval Institute. This is not a bunch of dummies that are, rednecks hoping that the grid goes down so that they can break out their 30-06 and blah, 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 blah. So this is the title of this article is an EMP or solar incident could result in blackout warfare. Okay, well, Russia and China have the ability to destroy the U.S. power grid and degrade military capabilities with a non-kinetic first strike, not only through electromagnetic effects of nuclear and non-nuclear weapons. By the way, there are EMP weapons. Yeah. About 50 grand, size of a suitcase, knock out an entire area. Detonate 6 or 7 of them at 50 grand a piece, and you knock out the entire grid of the United States and most of Canada. It's true. I wonder how many illegal immigrants will cross the southern border then. A few, I imagine. Let's see. Oh, wow, they get pretty specific about this. An electromagnetic pulse is the electromagnetic radiation from a solar explosion caused by Compton recoil electrons and photoelectrons from photons scattered in the materials of the nuclear device or a surrounding medium. It can also be caused by non-nuclear weapons, though the effects are usually more geographically limited. The resulting electric and magnetic fields can couple with electrical or electronic systems to produce damaging current and voltage surges. Depending on the burst type, it can cause power spikes ranging from several hundred volts per meter up to more than 1 million volts per meter. Just to put that in perspective, if you ran that kind of voltage through the high power 750 kilovolt lines that you see on these big, huge metal power line systems that are 100 feet up off the ground, those are 750 kilovolt. They're very, very strong. A solar flare does the same exact thing. If you ran that many volts through those lines, they would simply melt. Now, at what temperature do they melt? I don't know. Let's find out. What is the melting temperature of copper? Pure copper. It is 1,900 degrees Fahrenheit. So, if it's 1,900 degrees Fahrenheit and it falls 100 feet into dry brush, what do you think? What are high power lines made out of? High power overhead lines use aluminum conductor steel reinforced cables. Aluminum? What? Aluminum. It has a lower electrical conductivity than copper. Yeah, it sure as hell does. But it's 3 times lighter and much cheaper. You're shitting me. That's terrible. Right? Well, it's terrible for a couple reasons. At what temperature does aluminum melt? 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. That is really bad. Because if you melt that and it falls into dry brush, you just started a fire that could potentially be hundreds of miles long. Now, of course, if the electrical grid is completely knocked out, you have zero chance of putting that out because there are no fire departments. There are no fire trucks. If it melts, that's right. Now, the question is, how many volts per meter does it take to melt a high power line? I don't know if I'll answer this one. I'd love to know. Power lines do not melt from voltage itself, okay? But from an excessive electrical current, amps, the melting point of the wire is determined by the balance between the heat generated by the current and the heat lost to the surrounding air. The current required. The metal in the power lines, usually aluminum conductor, steel reinforced, will melt at a temperature between 640 degrees Celsius and 1,000 degrees Celsius. To reach this temperature, the line must carry a massive amount of current that dramatically exceeds thermal capacity. Okay. Like what? That's the thing. Oh, shit. Okay, well, here it is. 3 million volts per meter. Okay, so the atmosphere surrounding a wire acts as an insulator until a threshold known as the dielectric strength is reached. For dry air, this intrinsic threshold is approximately 3 million volts per meter. What happens at this limit? If the electric field intensity exceeds this value, the air ionizes and becomes a highly conductive plasma. The result in a massive persistent electrical arc fault across the power line span. That didn't even make sense to me. But I will say this. If a fault creates an electrical field intense enough to flash over or arc, the resulting electrical arc reaches extreme temperatures, tens of thousands of degrees, that will vaporize or melt the power line almost instantly. While it typically takes 3 million volts per meter to break down the surrounding air and cause a catastrophic arc, the actual melting of the metal itself depends on generating thousands of amps of sustained electrical current. Okay, so now, see, this is the kind of shit that you need to know, because if this were to happen, if we were to get to a point where the power lines themselves actually melted down, then the question becomes, how do you survive? What size, how intense is that solar flare or EMP? It doesn't sound like an EMP can generate 3 million volts per meter. The question, of course, is, as a solar flare or a coronal mass ejection, I know that the longer the line, the more electricity it soaks up. So small circuits don't get hurt as bad as long lines. Very interesting. All right. In order to melt a wire in 1 second, you will need 26 volts per meter length of the wire to melt it. What? I'm not really sure if I understand what I read there. Okay, so let's do this. What we need to do is we need to convert volts per meter we need to figure out how big. Well, that's the thing. The solar flare that melted the telegraph wires was Carrington event of 1859. Let's do this backwards. Was the Carrington event of 1859 a strong enough solar event to melt electrical wires? Yes. The Carrington event of 1859 produced powerful geomagnetic currents that were strong enough to cause fires and melt electrical equipment. But what about the big overhead lines? Okay, I'm going to back this up and make it, was the Carrington event of 1859 a strong enough solar event to melt the 750 kilovolt lines today? Now this is going to be very interesting. Yes, that's why I'm asking. Yes, it would melt the lines today. A Carrington class solar event today would induce massive low frequency direct currents, GICs, into long distance transmission lines. While the heat wouldn't literally vaporize the metal lines, it would easily cause devastating thermal damage and permanently melt the copper windings inside the large 750 kilovolt power grid transformers. Well, isn't that special? That is special. And 1% of the electrical grid has been hardened against that. 1 whole percent. Now, you've got to ask yourself a very serious question at this point. Are you that 1%? Because I can think of other things that go along with the 1%. For instance, they have doomsday shelters. They control 89% of all of the assets and wealth in the United States. That's just 18,500 of them. That's not even close to 1%. 1% would be 3.3 million people. You know what? The price I pay for being smart, though, I think is so much less than the penalty for being ignorant. They say ignorance is bliss. But the reality is this. There are a lot of really nice people out there that are ignorant as fuck. And watching them die at some point is going to suck. And I can't save them all. I don't have the resources for it. Now, I would like to get to a point where I can save a lot of people. That's why I am looking all over the place for a large amount of property. Because trying to go it alone absolutely cannot work. You cannot do this by yourself. The idea of having a commune where everybody is equal and we share everything, and we fart sunshine and sing kumbaya every night. No, that's not going to happen. However, the idea of having a community of people who all have their own jobs, all do their own thing. Maybe some of them are retired. That's how they can be there. Some of them have jobs that wherever you go, everybody needs a plumber. No matter where you go, everybody needs an electrician. That type of thing. And to set up a community where everyone has a purpose. People say, "Oh, I feel like my life doesn't matter." Anyone probably doesn't. It probably doesn't matter to anybody. And that's not anybody else's fault. You can't blame God for being a lazy turd. That's your decision. If you don't matter to anybody, it's not like a label that somebody slaps on your back without telling you, and you walk around all day with people laughing at you because you don't matter. You don't matter because you chose not to do anything that matters. You can fix that in 20 seconds. Just get off your ass, get off the couch, and go help somebody that's in worse shape than you. And there's always somebody that's in worse shape than you. Always. It's the way it is. I remember when I quit drinking, I went to AA for years, and they were like, "Look, even if you're a new person, let's say you got a month of sobriety. The guy who walks in, whose hand is shaking like this, who's got 12 hours of sobriety, yeah, you got a lot of wisdom that you can give to him because you've made it all this way." Now, a guy with 45 years of sobriety, that might not even click with this kid. This guy or this woman doesn't, they hear 45 years and they're like, "Well, you're just not like me." But somebody who walks up and says, "Look, I only got a month and it has not been a bed of roses, but I can tell you I'm happy. I'm happier now than I was then. You can do this." They go, "Oh, a month, huh? Well, fuck, if you can make it a month, I can make it a month." So everybody's got something they can offer. My point is, we live in these neighborhoods. They're completely disjointed. And the more I think about it, the more it doesn't make sense. I don't know some of my neighbors. Some of them I do, but some of them I don't, just because they're kind of odd. They come and go at weird hours of the night. They look a little shady, and the lady next door is a nurse, 35 years. She used to be a teacher. Solid. Her husband's a mechanic, works for the city. Solid people. Guy down at the end of the street, former Marine, did exactly the same thing in the Marine Corps I did. So, the tough, nihilistic old bastard, but he's good to go. Here's my point. What if I could design a community in a way that everybody that came there because they wanted to be a part of a community and add something? That seems like it would be a pretty cool thing. Now, the idea that we're all going to live happily ever after, I don't know if you've ever met humans, but they're all fucking crazy. They're all crazy. I didn't know Jesus, and I didn't know Buddha, and I never met Gandhi. But Gandhi used to sleep naked with 14 and 15-year-old girls next to him to test himself. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, well, he's just testing himself. I personally, nope. That's just you're begging for trouble at that point. That's not gonna don't do that. Bad idea. Jesus, from what I understand, he went out in the desert for like 40 days and talked to Satan. He won the argument too, which is kind of awesome. So, which is funny because that's exactly what Buddha did under the Bodhi tree, where he reached enlightenment. Something about going out and sitting on your ass for 40 days and 40 nights. Although I think, if I'm not mistaken, they were both starving at the time. No thanks. I can live very well with no electricity. Okay. Well, yeah, I'd rather have some electricity, actually. I like being able to refrigerate stuff. It's just a thing. But the idea of putting ice cubes in my drink sounds kind of fun, actually. Um, I don't drink iced coffee, but I know some people do. Yeah, that's a long time to meditate. That is a very, very long time to meditate. But hey, it seems to work. I would say that I would say that I found a couple places that I think are pretty damn amazing. But if somebody's interested in something like that, setting up a place, there are there are several places that I found that are really, really top top tier. You could live here, and if the power never goes out, which is idiotic to even think, because 1% of the electrical system has been hardened. There will absolutely be solar flares. Period. I mean, hell, look at the sun right now today. Just right now, go to NOAA and look at the sun. It's quiet, super quiet. Yeah, we've got a coronal hole stream coming at us, a little bit of elevated solar stream. Not a big deal. It's not a big deal. But you look at the LEM. Look over on the far side, right, just out of view of us, and there is this massive amount of light coming out of the sun. Do you know what that is? That's a fucking massive solar flare. That is a huge sunspot that's making a lot of noise right now. No, none of it's pointed towards us for 3 more days, maybe 5 tops, and it'll be pointed directly at us. Now, what's it doing right now? Nothing to us. It's just causing hell, but not towards us. What's to say that that one doesn't come around and fire off a couple of major X-class flares? Absolutely nothing. There is nothing that says it can't fire an X40 at us by the middle of next week. Well, what if it's not an X40 though? What if it's only an X20? Well, here's some more good news. And this is the kind of shit that makes me realize, like, we cannot be in a city. If you live in a city, you have to leave. Period. I don't give a fuck what your job is. If you have children and you love your family, you can't live in the middle of a major city. Period. Everything adds up to one inevitable conclusion. Period. There's only one conclusion. Well, with a name like Cowboy Country Kitchens, that's easy for you to say. My point is, lots of people have no idea what's going on. So if I just keep this to myself, well, okay. No, that's not going to work. How do you do that? The strong and smart will survive. No, that's not true. The strong and smart, if they don't know that this is coming, if nobody's told them, and if they live in the middle of a city like Houston or Los Angeles or San Francisco or New York, Seattle, Portland, Chicago, Miami. I mean, fuck, I can just go on. Charlotte, North Carolina. There are worst place to be is in any city, any major city. Well, the reality is, I'm not worried about World War III because World War III is not going to be fought the way all the other wars were fought. And I don't really think that it'll be a direct confrontation the way people think it will be. I think it'll be fought a lot, unfortunately, with with non-kinetic means. So asymmetric warfare is the only way that Iran gets to stay in the game for very long. And believe me, they're very good at asymmetric warfare. I've been drinking Jolt now since the 80s. I remember when this shit came out. Now, this is the root beer. Not as good as the cola. The cola kicks ass. Yeah, drones have completely changed the face of modern warfare. But here's my point. If you live in a major city, you can't. Like, you just can't. I'll be at the happiest place on earth next week. Well, it'll be the happiest place on earth as long as there's electricity. If you're a prepper without guns, you're just open to looters. Yes and no. This is something that I recommend everybody has. Now, this is bear spray. You just pop this little orange thing out and you push down on it. And by the way, store your bear spray in a very, very cool, dry place. I left a can of bear spray in my garage, and when I looked at it, after it had been sitting on the shelf for several years in Phoenix, I went, oh shit, this stuff's expired. All right, well, you know what? I want to see how far this really shoots. And so I pulled the safety out, and I went outside, and I clicked it, and the trigger snapped off in my finger. This thing that you push down to make this open up and shoot, it just snapped off. Nothing came out. Can you imagine if I had been looking down the barrel of a 700-800 pound grizzly bear and I had said, oh shit, he's getting a little bit too interested in me. Crunch. Meh. What do you do then? Stuff it in his mouth when he tries to rip your head off? I mean, that's when these expire, they've expired. They're done. So just keep in mind that this is something that you want. Prescott is definitely a better place. I assume that if you're in Prescott, you must be down here in Joyville with me, down here in Phoenix. Not an ideal place. That's right, AJ. Yeah, the people are nice enough, you know. However, it's a pretty dry place. Now, I do know that there is an underground aquifer that most people don't think twice about, just north of me, just a few miles. And the water table is literally 15 feet underground. I could stay here forever. But once I really started to think about the ideal place to live, the ideal place to live is not Phoenix. It's not even really Arizona, because Arizona, even the pretty places like Prescott or Flagstaff, they're beautiful, but they're still dry. It's still desert. There are places I'll give you an example, Northern California and Southern Oregon. Now, I know people are going to go, well, yeah, but those places are, you know, you can't live there. It's fucking Democrats and the politics. And if you need to live in one of those places, there are no politics anymore. None. Now, we will have a central government. I guarantee you that if we have a massive solar flare, it will take out the entire world's grid. Within 72 hours, the United States government will start to rebuild itself. Not you. It'll have absolutely zero use for you. But it will rebuild itself. It will reconstitute itself. And the reason I know that is because when you start looking at all of these crazy stories that have nothing to do with each other on the surface, you start to realize that there is something that they all have in common. All of them. Why would the government be interested in building underground military bases? Any idiot knows that that a cave is a grave. We've said that since prior to going into Tora Bora and going after Osama bin Laden. What in the hell did I get restricted for this time? Because I'm telling, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? Because I'm redirecting people to buy outside of the TikTok shop, I just got my visibility restricted. What the fuck? Like, what can you talk about? What can you do on this fucking idiotic social media platform now? Except dance in a fucking t-shirt without your bra on. Which, by the way, I'm not wearing a bra, but I just don't dance. Yeah, it's fucking crazy, man. I'm not selling anything. I'm telling you, go buy something that I don't even sell. It's like, unless they have bear spray. If they have bear spray, buy it at the TikTok shop and just pray that it's not bullshit like their silver is. Anyway, the reason you bury a military base is not to protect it from a nuclear blast. That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. We have military bases like Thunder Mountain. Okay, well, Thunder Mountain, Cheyenne Mountain is, it can take a 20 megaton direct hit and keep functioning as CENTCOM, as NORAD's Central Command. Okay, so why would you do that? There's only one reason, and that is because you're trying to shield something from what, a nuclear blast? No. Look, people who think about nuclear war, who think about why you would go to nuclear war, why would you do that? Well, you're threatening me. Well, how am I threatening you? You're threatening me with nuclear war. Okay, but you're threatening me with nuclear war. Right. Okay. So which one of us fires first? Well, how about this? Since we're both going to end up firing anyway, let's just not fire. Oh, okay. But what if we did? Well, I guess if I'm going to fire weapons at you, if I'm going to go to war with you, I should at least be able to have your resources. Right. Yeah, of course. That's what wars are all about, right? Resources. Like, if I'm going to go in and invade a country like Venezuela, at least I want their gold and their oil, If I'm going to go take over some country like Iraq, I want to snag whatever's under the sand. Look, they can keep the sand. I just want the oil. Oh, okay. Well, what if you detonate a 5 megaton thermonuclear reaction on the surface? Oh, well, you fuck it all up. You can't live there. You can't work there. Maybe in 100 years, maybe 50 years. It's not going to be tomorrow. That's a fact. Everything's going to be radioactive. For how long? Years. So why would you detonate a nuclear weapon on the ground? You wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't detonate one on the ground. And I know some of you are already typing, well, but they airburst them at 4,500 feet. Same shit, man. When you detonate a nuclear weapon anywhere near the ground, you irradiate everything to the point of utter destruction. Nothing survives. Radiation sickness. People's hair falls out 20 miles away. Their skin falls off 10 miles away. Yeah, they survived the blast. They're not surviving the month. Okay, so what do you do then? Well, then your army moves right in. No, they don't. You're not going to make your own guys drive their fucking Jeeps through all that radiation. So you've basically destroyed an entire area that now you can't benefit from. Why doesn't anybody think of this shit? Duh. Okay, but what about if you shoot one up into the air 100,000 feet? Well, I mean, if you put one up 100,000 feet in the air, it's a 20 megaton. Jesus, that's a big explosion. Okay, so does everybody on the ground get irradiated? Well, at 100,000 feet, no. The radiation would mostly stay in the air, in the ionosphere. Okay, but what would happen? Well, I mean, shit, that electrical burst would basically blow out every electrical circuit for thousands of miles. Oh, well, thousands of miles down? Yeah, and up. Oh, wait. So you would take out the entire electrical grid on the ground and you take out all of the satellites the country has in geosynchronous orbit above? Yeah, you could do that. So basically, without irradiating the entire country, you just knock out their electrical grid. The radiation is not even an issue. So you could go back in there like right now if you wanted, but you don't want to because you have to wait. For what? For everybody to kill each other. A house divided cannot stand. Democrats and Republicans, black and white, immigrants and people who were born here, you think that's bad? What about people who have food and people who are watching their children die of starvation? What do you think that battle looks like? Nobody's going to drop a nuke on New York City. That's idiotic. That's childish. The Tom Clancy, but this is going to happen. They're going to put it in a soda machine and it's going to explode at the Super Bowl. If it's one guy and he's got one bomb, maybe. If he just hates the United States, I don't know why anybody would hate the United States. All we do is run around the world and freedom the fuck out of people. I mean, once our B-52s have stuffed a little freedom up your ass or down your throat, lightened up your load by getting rid of most of your family so that you can be free again, I don't see why anybody'd hate us. But apparently some people just don't recognize. So anyway, my point is this. We're in a situation where an EMP, look, these numbers that I'm telling you about, let's see, what percentage of the United States electrical grid is hardened against EMP or solar flares? Less than 1%. So please share this live stream with people that you care about. Like if you have friends that don't know anything about this, they're completely ignorant because most people are. Look, here's the problem. Why would the mainstream media talk about this? What's in it for them? What is in it for them? The government tells them, this is what we want you to talk about. Now, sometimes the government says, hey, we want you to talk shit about us. Tom, you think Chernobyl's fine now? Really? Well, let me ask you this. How's Fukushima? How's the Fukushima Daiichi power reactor? How's the town around it? Because you still can't go anywhere near it. It's so fucking radioactive. Think about that for a second. So, no, I don't buy it. And by the way, how long ago was Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Was that 80 years ago? Because Chernobyl is not okay. Not at all. I just watched a special where a guy went in there with a Geiger counter and he just wanted to see what was going on. What about the Samson option? Oh, you're talking about Israel? The Samson option is insane. It's insane. The fact that their government actually has it means that they are insane. That may be true. I've seen things about the wolves and whatnot. Now, I will say this: are the animals that they're studying, are they really, really close to the reactor, or are they 5, 10, 15 miles away? Because I know the exclusion zone is huge. How large is the exclusion zone around Chernobyl? Holy shit. 1,000 square miles. Holy shit. That's a big chunk of land, man. Wow. Shit, 19 miles, 30 kilometers in every direction. Wow. So, yeah, I mean, if you're studying animals that are, you know, I don't know, 25 kilometers from the actual site, then you're probably okay. But I know that the last time I saw a special guy actually went in, he found, and this was something that apparently he wasn't supposed to do, but he went inside of one of the buildings and down in the basement and found the uniforms of the firemen that were the first ones on the scene, the ones that all died, every one of them. And his Geiger counter went instantly to sieverts. And if you know anything about radiation, I was an NBC officer for a while, nuclear, biological, and chemical. When you're talking about sieverts as opposed to microsieverts, you're talking about you've got 90 seconds, maybe 5 minutes before it becomes actually extremely dangerous. Stay in that room for an hour, you're fucking dead, period. You don't survive. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you had for breakfast. I don't care how much iodine you took in to protect your was it hypothalamus? It doesn't matter. You're toast. So, you know, again, we're not dropping bombs on each other. By the way, Tom, congratulations. Just want to say congratulations on your Cooper Beatty. Apparently, Cooper Pedy is a place where everybody lives underground because it's so fucking hot, and they have some of the most absolutely insane black opals and fire opals, like the best in the world. Absolutely no contest. And as it turns out, they just announced it's here today. I don't know, this might be old. I'm not saying you're completely wrong, but it's exaggerated. Well, let me put it this way. I wouldn't go anywhere near Chernobyl. But apparently in Cooper Pedy, they just found, 233 billion barrels of oil. That's how large they expect that oil field to be now. That just got announced in the United States this morning. Well, I don't have to tell you. You've been in places where shit can get really weird, so you better know. You better know what you're talking about. It's all fun and games when you're playing fucking Halo on the PlayStation, but in real life, you get one mistake. Black opal is only found in Nevada, I think. Oh, what is Cooper Pedy famous for? Yeah, the opal capital of the world, but opal mining, what type? By the way, the whole fucking city's underground. That's what's cool. I love the fact that the whole place is underground. And from some of the shows I've seen, the people who live there, they are when you think of Australians in the outback, these are the people you think about. They are tough, gritty fuckers. Like, I watched a couple episodes of a show where they actually went down into these opal mines. And by the way, when I say opal mine, these guys will just dig a hole down into the ground 50 feet that's 4 feet by 4 feet. And they'll put a ladder down in it, and then they'll start digging this way. And then they'll start digging this way. And then they'll start digging this way again, but then they'll go this way. It's like, well, could this cave in? Yeah. Will it cave in? Probably at some point. But, we'll be listening. We'll try to get out of here first. It's like, okay. Wow. Well, that's a hell of a way to look at it. Now, the good news is I saw one episode where some kids, they're young kids, they went in there and they just started digging and digging and digging. And they actually found, I forget what it's called, but it's like just a huge bunch of opal stuck together. They found this massive rock, and basically they retired, or they could retire. Uranium. Now there's something I don't want to go mining for. So anyway, here's a question you got to ask yourself. If we know that airburst is probably the future for nuclear technology, for nuclear war, why would you build a deep underground military base? Because the first time I heard about a deep underground military base, I thought, that's stupid. Cave is grave. Tora Bora Mountains prove that. Look, you can hide or try to hide, but at some point you have to breathe. When you breathe, you're going to breathe out CO2. And when that CO2 ekes out of the ground somewhere, we're going to see that shit from our satellites. We will see the exhaust from people hiding in a cave breathing. Don't light a fire. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Block up the entrance. Doesn't matter. You have to stop breathing to protect resources for these survivors. And who are the survivors? It's called continuity of government. They take care of themselves. They have spent trillions of dollars. Has anybody ever wondered, like, the day before 9/11, the Secretary of Defense holds a press conference in the Pentagon, and I've watched it, and he says, we are now at war. On 9/10? Yeah, we are now at war. We are at war with the Pentagon. You got 500 people in the Pentagon, in the auditorium, listening to the SecDef, and he's saying we're at war with ourselves. He then goes on to say that $2.5 trillion cannot be accounted for. That's right. $2.5 trillion cannot be accounted for. But it will be. It will be accounted for. Because right now, we have a team of forensic accountants that are beginning to go through all of the records for years to find out where this $2.5 trillion went. All the records, all the accountants on site right now. And they're going to find it. Strangely enough, hell of a coincidence. The part of the E-ring, the only part of the E-ring, the outside ring of the Pentagon, which had been strengthened against missiles, was right where all of those accountants and all the records, paper records, were stored. And the very next day, it's just so crazy, right? The very next day, an airplane that nobody could see flew directly into that exact part of the Pentagon, killing the accountants and destroying all of the records. Well, it's a funny thing, Matthew. How can you hide that much money? Well, when was the last time the Pentagon passed an audit? They get audited every year. They get audited every year. And they never pass the audit, ever. They don't pass, ever. Well, okay, but what does that mean? Well, that means that they say we took in $800 billion. Okay, what'd you spend it on? Well, we spent on these things. Okay, well, these things only come out to $600 billion. Even when you factor in $200,000 aluminum toilets for a B-52 or a $20,000 bolt that's just made out of grade 8. Okay, well, that's an expensive bolt. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a bolt that would cost you $8, not $2, not a cheap, shitty bolt. I'm talking about a really high grade bolt for 20 grand. And even when you're looking at that, all of that waste and abuse, it still only comes out to 600 billion. And it's like, okay, well, where's the other 200 billion? We don't know yet. We'll have to give us time. We're going to go back and we're going to relook through everything. Everything? Fuck yeah, everything. Well, how many records do you have? Oh, hundreds of thousands, millions of receipts, digital receipts, paper, like, yeah, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. Some of it was faxed. Not in 2025. Yeah. Some of it gets faxed. Yeah. We have digital copies of some of it. Some of it, they actually still sign a purchase order on paper. Okay. Sometimes, and this happens, but sometimes things get done in duplicate, triplicate, big orders, $100 million. And we don't realize we paid the contractor for the same thing 3 times, and they never seem to figure it out. The contractors never call us and go, you paid us too much. So every year we have billions, sometimes hundreds of billions that go missing. So where's that money going? Well, I mean, obviously some of it goes to padding people's pockets. It's fraud. But some of it goes into operations that are what we call SAPs. And a SAP is something that nobody in the military gets to know about. And the reason that nobody in the military knows about it is because it comes from the tax dollars, in this case, over $1 trillion for defense this year. It goes into the Department of War, into the Pentagon, and then through all of these different contractors, it gets put out into the private sector. Well, the private sector, strangely enough, they'll tell you as a military person that the average person off the street, the average civilian off the street, outranks the highest general. Because when you're in the military, you serve your country, you serve the people of your nation. So if a pedestrian walking by says something, you better react. You better treat them with respect. And the reason for that is they outrank you. You serve them. Okay, let's extend that premise out a bit. What if you gave $200 billion to a corporation, and that corporation has what we call a special access program, a SAP? Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that you have to be cleared in order to know what they're doing with that money. Okay, but doesn't somebody have to clear the program? In general, yes. Research and development. Okay, research and development for what? For the long-term continuity of government of the United States of America. Oh, yeah, continuity of government. Fuck, I'm a congressman. I'm a senator. President. Yeah, I want that, especially if it's me that's the government. Continuity means I survive. Okay, sure. So you need money for that, for research and development. All right, well, how much? We're going to need about $200 billion. That's a lot. Do you want us to be able to research and then develop a way so that no matter what happens, regardless of the crises, you maintain continuity of government? Well, yeah, that'd be nice. Okay, well, it ain't cheap. All right, well, here's the money. A year later, president, senator, congressman goes back and goes, how's that coming? And they go, well, that's none of your fucking business. What do you mean it's none of my business? That's none of your fucking business. Yeah, I'm giving you a direct order. Oh, I'm sorry. You're giving me a direct order? I'm not in the military. No one in the military or in the government can give me a direct order to show you something that you know is top secret. As a matter of fact, it's beyond top secret. It's a special access program, and you have to be granted special access. Oh, well, who grants me special access? I do. So if the president showed up here today, we would tell him, Mr. President, for your own good, for your own safety, you cannot see this. Period. This is for your own good. No, can't see it. Well, why would anybody take that seriously? Because if you look around, nobody standing anywhere near us in a suit has ever been anything other than a Delta operator or a Green Beret or Dev Group, SEAL Team 6. We don't hire amateurs. These are all very, very highly trained professionals. So no, we don't show people what's going on because it's for national security. It's literally life or death. You don't want to see this. There are certain things that you might think you want to see, but you don't want to see. And everybody goes, oh, okay. That's it. So that's how $2.5 trillion disappeared. Now, what's interesting is that was a very, very small blip right before 9/11, and it disappeared the next day. Did you know that the Pentagon announced last year that they had again lost approximately $2.5 trillion that was unaccounted for? In 2024 or 25, did the Pentagon admit that $2.5 trillion had gone missing again since 9/11? 11? 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9/11. 9 Let's see. The Pentagon's 7th consecutive audit failure. Trillions lost. Absolute disaster for the Pentagon 2 days ago. Pentagon loses track of 2.5 trillion. That was November 26, 2024. Okay, well, now take over the world with that money. That's a total of $5 trillion. We could build a fucking Death Star for $5 trillion. I want my Death Star. I paid for a Death Star. I want the fucking Death Star. I don't want to use it. I mean, you know, some obstinate aliens show up. We got to light them up, whatever, but I don't want to have to use it. But God damn it, I paid for it. Now, here's the thing. Did they really lose $5 trillion over the last 35 years? No, they haven't lost that much. What's happened is, over the last 35 or 40 years, the Pentagon has realized, and they realized this probably 60 years ago, they realized that, oh shit, we've gone down a street that is one way. We can't go back. And that is, we developed a way of life and an electrical system for our world that doesn't work. It's not about AC power or DC power. It's not that Tesla was right or wrong. It's that there were certain things that Tesla didn't know back then. There were certain things that nobody knew. Edison didn't know. Sure, the Carrington event had happened in 1859. Did we have a way of determining how strong it was? No, it made pretty fucking lights in the sky. That's all. It burned down some fucking copper wires that were connecting telegraphs around the world, and there weren't that many of them. Okay, well, yeah, that's kind of weird. All right, well, you know what? That was an anomaly. That'll never happen again. Well, now that we look back through tree ring samples and ice cores and whatnot, we see that, oh shit, actually big solar flares like that, coronal mass ejections like that, are actually pretty common. Well, what do we do? I mean, seriously, what the fuck do we do now? We already built the system. Well, take it all apart. Take the whole electrical grid of Earth apart. And then what? What do we replace it with? Oh, shit. That's a good point, huh? Like, what do we replace the electrical grid with? Nothing. Our whole world has been built around this electrical system this made our lives fucking awesome. Super easy. So easy, as a matter of fact, that we didn't even know what to do with ourselves. We had to come up with people like the Kardashians to keep us occupied because our lives got so fucking easy we didn't know how to survive. So, wow. What happens if that turns out to be just a little blip? Like, oh, here's how hard life is. Oh, look, it got really good for a little. Oh, now back to baseline. Oh, well, what's baseline? Well, I don't know. What's the last 5,000 years been like? Shit. Don't know. Maybe 0 point energy will work. Maybe the next solar flare, if you had something that created 0 point energy, would turn it into a nuclear detonation and it would erase the entire Earth. We don't know that. That's the problem. That is the problem. Can we create a fusion reactor? Probably pretty soon. Will that save us from the inevitable solar flare that's going to wipe out the entire grid? Yeah, I mean, no, probably not. Okay, so what do we do? Okay, so let's start with this. What do we know? Well, we know that solar power works. Yeah, but solar power, really? What happens when the solar flare happens? Is it gonna fry those panels? Probably. We're not sure of that, but most likely it will. Okay. But we know solar works. Yes. Okay. What else do we know? Well, we know wind works. Wind works great. Okay. Hydroelectric, that works. Oh shit, what about the dams? If they're disconnected from everything, if they're completely disconnected, the actual power generation system inside of all that concrete may survive. If you have power lines running into it, it's done. Well, enjoy the venison, man. Deer tastes good. So, what about this though? What if the United States government, knowing that it can't protect you from solar flares, and knowing that if it tells you that, you're going to say, well, fuck you then. I'm not going to war with Iran. I'm not going to war with anybody. As a matter of fact, I'm not paying for defense. You're not defending me against the one thing that will absolutely kill me while making all these bullshit excuses to go fight people who don't want to kill me. I'm not paying taxes anymore. Tax revolt instantly. It would have taken maybe 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks tops before people realize, like, wait a minute, you can't protect me from the one thing that could really end our civilization. Well, then fuck you. I'm not giving you half my income, a third of my income. I'm spending that on rice and beans. I'm going to get out of the city and go find a place where I can have a garden. I'm going to go buy some heirloom seeds and you can fuck yourself. That's exactly what would happen. These enormous governmental structures would collapse into their own weight. Okay? Well, if you're going to be too much of a baby about it that they can't tell you, can they still protect you? Sort of. I mean, they can't tell you about it. But they could. They could make millions of solar panels and bury them underground. That could be the beginning of a new government. You know, maybe they could have backup generation systems that are buried underground, way down deep in like salt mines and whatnot. Yeah, that could work. You could do that. Obviously, they wouldn't be hooked up to anything. They'd just be under there, sitting there, waiting for the day after. And the day after, you could bring it all out and start hooking it up. Yeah, you could absolutely make that work. Okay. But you can't tell anybody. What happens when you tell somebody? What, that they're building deep underground military bases for continuity of government for when the world comes to an end? Yeah. Because again, when you say that the world's going to come to an end, that's it. You no longer have a tax base. You no longer have a reliable tax base. Why would somebody give you money to go buy solar panels so that you can survive when they could just as easily keep that money and go buy their own solar panels for their own survival and just bury them underground? Because it looks like underground is the only place that you can be safely. Now, that may not be true of the entire planet, but the sun-facing side of this fucking monster is definitely going to get blasted badly. We're hoping, when I say we, the people who are studying this are hoping that it's not facing us. it appears that last time it went off, it was facing us. So the odds of it facing North America again are pretty slim. And the reason we know that is because there's absolutely zero chance that all of the megafauna in North America disappeared overnight because a bunch of hunters with pointy sticks ate them all. That is completely idiotic. Completely. Yeah, I mean, I heard 2 wind farms shut down. I know that they're talking about that. They're talking about the wind farms, and I know that Trump said wind farms give you cancer. I don't know where that came from, but having wind farms up and running right now would be irrelevant because a solar flare would destroy them. No question. All of the electrical windings are up in the top of them where the propellers are. So you would have to have all of that equipment underground somewhere. And then you would have to have the ability to actually build it. So again, solar to me seems like the most obvious because you can take a solar generator and some solar panels and you can put them underground, stick them inside of a Connex container, make sure it's grounded. That's a little bit more dangerous than putting them underground, but if you have a storm cellar, make damn sure that if there's a light bulb in it, there's no electrical line running to that light bulb. That would not be good because that means it's connected to the rest. Solar farms underground, that is, for now, that's exactly where they need to be for now. But of course, that's the thing. Once we get a massive solar flare, as a species, if we realize, like after the fact, we realize that, okay, you know what? These happen more often than not. Like, we've got 150 years. The clock's ticking. Go. The clock's ticking for what? Advancing, evolving, getting past what we've been doing over and over and over again. Yeah, from what I understand, 3 feet of just dirt, compacted dirt is fine. I imagine salt's probably better, and that would be because it's non-conductive. So, there's a lot of communications systems out there from the 60s, from the Cold War, that are basically communications bunkers that are built underground that have 8 inches of lead shielding around them, and they're buried 4 feet underground. Wouldn't mind owning one of those. That's a fact. So that's part of the plan. So if you're interested in helping with the plan, you can contact me. My bio right there. You send me a text. No, Tom. Hey, you know what? I feel you, man. Based on what the solar scientists on this side of the planet are saying, your side's the one that's going to get it, but not directly, not specifically Australia. It'll be basically the Pacific. Now, what does it mean when a solar outburst like that hits that much water? Man, that is just, I don't even want to consider it. That much energy going into the Pacific Ocean would create so much humidity, so much moisture in the air that we would be back in snowball Earth almost instantly. That's right, causes steam. Steam rises up and turns into clouds, and those clouds, they start to rain on the entire world, especially especially the other side of the world that's colder. Yeah, I mean, the reality is that, nobody knows where this goes after the fact, because one of the things that we do know is that the CO2 levels are rising. Now, Al Gore and his merry band of idiots said that is bad. But everybody was taught from the time they could pee standing up or whatever that CO2 is what plants eat. That's what they breathe in. So they pump CO2 into greenhouses to make the plants grow faster. So the idea that you would have a slightly warmer climate and more CO2 means that your green belts around the equator would expand northward to maybe the 30 degrees north and south, 40. So that would mean that we would have what, 2 or 3 growing seasons across the Midwestern United States that our winters would be negligible, maybe not non-existent, below, say, Canada, and that Canada would be semi-tropical, and it would be grasslands. Okay, well, gee whiz, that just sucks ass, boy. That would create a crop yield worldwide that we couldn't possibly eat as human beings ever. Like, we could never keep up with crop yields. So we'll see what happens. Because right now, the Atlantic overturned meridional current is breaking down faster than anybody could have guessed. Now, they're saying that that's because of cow farts and whatever. The pixies are in full bloom over that one. But the reality is this. If the Atlantic overturning meridional current shuts down, it's literally that movie, The Day After Tomorrow. If you haven't seen that movie, go see it. Now, it won't happen in a week like that movie did, but it could easily happen over the course of a year or two. Easily. Maybe less than a year. Well, okay, so the northern hemisphere, the northern part of the northern hemisphere, starts to get colder. Because the tropical current isn't going up and warming up the northern part of the Atlantic. Right. So then it freezes over. Yeah. Permanently. All year round. Yeah. Okay. And then what? Well, let's see. After you freeze over Northern Europe, it keeps heading south. Well, why would it keep heading south? Albedo. Yeah, albedo. That is the tendency for lighter colors to reflect more sunlight. So once you start to freeze over the North Atlantic, it stops soaking up heat, as does all of the land around it, even in summertime. So it stays snowy all year round. Yep, it stays white. And all that white reflects all the heat that it would normally soak up, and the temperature drops by a couple more degrees instantly. Which does what? Well, it makes the glaciers move south to where? Germany would be frozen 24/7. And then albedo kicks in again and it freezes farther south. And that's why during the Ice Age, it'll go all the way down to Spain. Come all the way down to the northern U.S., not the southern, not the middle part, but the northern U.S. North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, they'll all be basically under ice, as would New York. Florida's still going to be Florida. Although Florida will be twice as big and you'll be able to walk to Cuba. Yeah. Where's all that water come from? All that ice that's building up because of the albedo effect, it's all freezing ocean water. So the ocean levels will be dropping dramatically. You know, the island that's disappearing, Tuvalu, how everybody's, oh my God, the whole island's going to be gone. The Tuvaluese are going to all be homeless. They're going to be living in canoes. No, they're not. No, they're not. They'll be fine. And the reason they'll be fine is because Tuvalu is going to be huge, just like Easter Island. Easter Island will be enormous again, like it was when they built the Moai. The longest interglacial period we've ever had in the last 300,000 years that we can see has been about 12,000 years. It's right now. The normal state of planet Earth is snowball Earth. 70% of Earth's history is an ice age. 30% is an interglacial period, like now. Oh, we'll definitely find Atlantis. I hope Dennis Quaid lives long enough to save us. I do. But, think about it. We're in a really interesting time, aren't we? And by the way, how many disaster movies were made about sea level rise and the destruction of the world because of global warming? I don't remember any. But there was one made about global cooling. Isn't it odd how Hollywood seems to always know way ahead of everybody else? It's almost like they drop hints for us, just for shits and giggles. They just throw out little things. Hey, crazy fantasy movie here. Nobody'd ever believe it though, but what if? And then you look back 20 years, 30 years later, and you're like, damn, that's weird. That's like they pegged it. Yeah, well, rain for 40 days and 40 nights is definitely on the menu. And again, that was at the end of the last interglacial period. Now, what happens if a solar flare hits the Earth during an ice age? A massive solar event, an X1000. Well, shit. You're going to melt a lot of fucking ice really fast. Okay, so if you melt the ice really fast, then what happens? Well, you get flooding. You would also get an enormous amount of heat. And that heat would generate steam, which would turn into clouds. You get an enormous amount of rain. So you get worldwide downpours that were almost unimaginable. You get thunderbolts that are literally 1,000 times larger than the thunderbolts you see now, the lightning that you see now. I imagine that if you were anywhere near those events, it would be deafening, literally. But yeah, over the course of just a few months, sea levels would rise by hundreds of feet, and entire continents would disappear underwater. It's estimated that the last time that the sea levels rose, which was 11,600 years ago, that it literally flooded 10 million square miles of land. 10 million square miles of land is now underwater that was above water before that happened. You could have walked from Florida to Cuba to Puerto Rico. You could have walked over to Jamaica. You could have walked to Mexico. I mean, it's and obviously anybody knows this. You could have easily walked from England to France because Doggerland was there, and they've already found entire villages at the bottom of the English Channel. So they know that at one point that was above water and it was a place that people lived. It was huge. So, the Seychelles, that chain of hundreds of little tiny islands, that was all one enormous above water landmass. it was a very, very different world back then. And it could be again a massive solar flare right now would do a couple things. It would unbalance, absolutely unbalance the Earth's spin, because that much solar radiation will absolutely affect, like if it's a big, like an X500, that would absolutely melt everything in Antarctica and in the Arctic. Greenland would not have an ice sheet anymore. That would be very interesting. Although it looks like the Earth does some pretty crazy shit anyway, and it's not even stuff I want to go into because it's crazy. And I'm trying to figure out if I'm absolutely certain of it or if I just think that it's possible. Because possible, that's not a reason to freak out. Probable, we start to worry a little bit. Inevitable, yeah, let's do something about that. So, well, that's the thing. It's time for us to figure out where we're going. What are we going to do? There's a lot of us that are like-minded. Let's do something smart, like find a place that we can agree has all of the resources necessary. And that would be, I'll give you an example. That would be something like, did you see where Comex Vault just found of silver and didn't know where it came from? Well, if they found 922,000 ounces, I guarantee you that that's not enough to fix anything, but it came from China. No question in my mind, it came from China. China already gave the COMEX 1 billion ounces last year. Now, maybe this is that billion ounces, because I heard almost a year ago that the COMEX almost broke completely, permanently, and they got to the point where they could not make deliveries. At which point, ironically enough, China, who hates the COMEX, and the London banking system in general, had to step in and prop up the LBMA with 1 billion ounces. So, is this the same silver being sort of rehypothecated? Because rehypothecation is very simple. It's a big fucking word, but it means one thing. You give me something and you say, here, I'm loaning this to you. And I say, okay, you know what? I'm going to give you interest on this. I appreciate what you're doing for me. Let me give you a couple percent. And you say, okay, perfect. And then I turn around and I loan your stuff to somebody else for a higher amount. I have just rehypothecated your assets. What? Are you kidding me? You got to take my assets and give them to somebody else. Yeah. Well, what happens if shithead defaults? Well, you're up shit creek. Not my problem. I'm just a guy in the middle. I mean, you can sue me. I can sue him. But there's probably a clause in the contract that you signed with me that said that I might rehypothecate. And if I rehypothecate in that instance, I'm no longer liable for the outcome. There's a pretty good chance that says that somewhere, because I'm not stupid. Wow. What was Tom saying here? Let's see. I will be your new king. That's funny. Well, we might go back to having kings and queens. I hope not. Who knows how many times this reset has happened before. Here in southeast or southwest Missouri, you have aquifer water rights under your land. Oh, I know. I know. That is one of the places that I'm looking at, actually. A couple different places. Northwest, the the middle of the country, places like Missouri and Arkansas are looking pretty good. Now you got to be careful though, because flooding is gonna be or could be an issue at some point if there is a big solar flare. So you want to make sure that you're not at, you're not in Florida. Put it to you that way. Southeast Missouri. Southeast Missouri is good too. By the way, there's a company in Tennessee. For those of you who are in Tennessee, what was the name of it? I'm going to check right now because I am so fucking mad. I can't believe that this place exists and that it's been allowed to do what it's doing to people. Where is it? And when I saw the news report, I just thought, this is impossible. It's just it's absolutely impossible. That basically what it boils down to is they're saying that there's a company in Tennessee. Yeah, here it is. Advanced Financial. Advanced Financial has sued, and by the way, this is a place that does pay loan stuff. Call centers aren't that big a deal. Data centers, big deal. ProPublica just did an article today that you guys got to know this. Advanced Financial has sued more than 110,000 of its own people that it's loaned money to in Tennessee, just in Tennessee. One out of every 25 or so people that has ever borrowed money from them has been sued by them. And they're charging over 200% interest on these payday loans. It's beyond the pale, man. It's like 200. I want to say it's 260%. God, 40% of the 110,000 cases end up in wage garnishment. Oh, I was wrong. They're charging 279%. Oh, new data center? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Fight like hell. Fight like hell. They're gonna hire maybe 30 people, but they're gonna suck down all of your electricity. Your electrical rates will skyrocket, and they're gonna use up all your groundwater for cooling. So basically, it's going to make a shitload of noise. The data center is going to make a tremendous amount of noise. It's going to use up an enormous amount of electricity that you will have to subsidize. And it's going to use up a lot of water that you need for planting. Terrible idea. Terrible idea. They just defeated one in New Jersey. It looks like, I think it was today, actually, or yesterday. It went down in flames. It's all bullshit, folks. It's all bullshit. This whole AI thing, you'll make your life better. No, it's not. Never does. Never does. But this Advanced Financial, this is absolutely stunning to me. that they're allowed to charge 279% interest. And these are the poorest people. Like one lady, she had to take out a payday loan, because her grandchildren moved in with her. And so all of a sudden she had extra food, extra daycare that she had to pay for. She just couldn't do it. So she took out a payday loan. And when she couldn't keep up with it, they because she didn't want to lose her house over taking out a home loan. Well, that one ended. It blows me away. It just absolutely blows me away that people like this are allowed to exist. And what did they do? Like, how did they get to a point where they could charge 279% annual interest, and then on top of that sue a quarter of the people that ever borrowed money from them, 110,000 people? How do you get to a point where you're allowed to do that in the United States? This is like third world banana republic bullshit. This was completely illegal in Venezuela under Maduro. Really? But we can do it here. Lobbying. We should stop calling it lobbying. We should call it what it is, which is bribery. But I don't know how well that'll work. So anyway, all right, guys. Well, if you haven't bought the book, buy the book. And it's right there. Go to my bio and bio the book. God, that was terrible. Anyway, so let's do this again. Let's see, tomorrow's Saturday. Nope, I don't do it on Saturday, but I will be back on Sunday as soon as the market's open. And by the way, did you notice that that gold and silver tanked on Friday? Gee whiz, I wonder why. Let's see, what else tanked? Waiting to pull it up here. Oh boy, everything tanked today. Could it be that it's Friday and we decided to go back to war again? Yeah, that's how it works. I'm telling you, this Monday through Friday war is bullshit. But what do I know? What do I know? So Sunday, let's see if I'm right. What's oil today? Where are we at? Where are you at, oil? $101. Ooh, Jesus! I'm telling you, it's gonna get crazy. Anyway, yep, absolutely. All right, you guys have a great weekend. I will see you on Sunday night.